Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Hello! And welcome to this, the first of our Drewling Samantics Season 12 Best Of episodes.
During the show, we will be looking back at some of the memorable moments from our guests this season.
Yeah, our first visitor was the extremely talented Jonathan Carlton, a star of the West End and the High Seas.
Hot on his heels, see what I did there, came the wonderful Tiran Aakel, an actor who is on tour so much his feet hardly seem to touch the ground.
Yeah, he was closely followed by Neil James, a self-confessed Drewling Samantics superfan, but more importantly, an amazing performer.
Now after that came Tom Quinn, actor, puppeteer, who found time in his very busy schedule to share some moments from his very, very impressive career.
Yeah. Next up was the lovely Joe Potter, the creative genius behind Trunk Theatre, a fabulous TIE company.
After that, and final guest of the season, came the delightful Dom Thomson, who shared some impressive moments from his very rapid rise to success, but featured one of Drewling Samantics' favourite stories ever.
Yeah, we've certainly been blessed with a superb collection of guests this season.
But rather than us waxing lyrical about them, why don't we let them speak for themselves?
Oh, good idea, Drew. So, ladies and gentlemen, we bring you Drewling Samantics Season 12 Best of Guests.
Can you, for all our listeners and viewers, give a brief introduction to who Tiran Aakel really is and what he does?
I keep asking that question every day. So my name is Tiran Aakel. I am an actor, and I've been in the business for, I would say, over 31 years or so. I know I just look 32, right? So
yeah, honestly, exactly. Mate, I would have thought a couple of years at the most.
There you go.
A child star, clearly.
No, and as you know, in this industry, it is a roller coaster journey, and I knew that from the very, very word go what to expect, and sometimes it's great and comfortable and fun, and sometimes it's not comfortable and shit. So you got to kind of ride that, right? Like anything in life, I suppose. That's what we're on, and it's just kind of how to navigate your own personal journey through this minefield.
I'm Tom Quinn. I'm an actor and recent director as well now. So that's now going on. But yeah, I've had the pleasure, I think, of doing quite a lot of puppetry work in the nearest past. So stuff like Warhorse, stuff like Spitting Image, the musical, stuff like Dinosaur World Live, and yeah, I think I've been privileged enough to be welcomed into that world and apply some acting stuff to not in my own body, with stuff I've been holding instead.
What a great way of describing it.
Holding stuff. Did you? I mean, did you when you started out? You started out as an actor. What kind of was it? Just the jobs that came up that took you towards puppetry, or was it something you thought you might work in one day, or had you no ambitions or no thoughts about it at all?
I don't think I'd really thought about it. I mean, to be honest, I think when you're an actor coming out of drama school and or wherever people are training or whatever, I think at the time you're just sort of thinking, well, I'll just sort of do whatever and go with the flow a little bit, and a lot of it is just I'll go where the money is as well.
Yes, of course.
But yeah, and I think I sort of stumbled onto the whole puppetry thing, was lucky enough to get auditions in stuff, and then was just like, oh, actually, maybe I've got a bit of a knack for it. Maybe because I think that's what they're looking for.
Mm. Yeah, it's. We had a friend of mine that I worked with many years ago, Roman Stefanski, who's a puppeteer. Predominantly worked for Polka, but has since done many projects. And he said I work with him, and I'm not I had puppet experience, but I wouldn't call myself a puppeteer per se. Nowhere near in the league of yourself or Roman. But you do have to. He says you do have to have an affinity. Some people pick up a puppet and it comes alive. Other people, work with the puppet, and it doesn't matter what happens. There's no way that they're ever going to make that particular puppet come alive. So is that I mean, particularly, I suppose one of the most famous and well-known and well-travelled and toured, we'll learn about more in a minute, productions in recent years is Warhorse. I mean, I suppose before that it was Avenue Q, and then Warhorse. It's a very beloved show. I mean, and went on to be an amazing film, an amazing play, etc. I mean, getting involved in that is one thing because it's an amazing story, but working with, were you the horse? Presumably, you were the horse. You were one of the horses, and
Yes.
that's what your role was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So I was what they call head puppeteer for both horses. So Joey and Topthorn, so the two life-sized horses that are wandering around on stage. But yeah, I should clarify. I say head puppeteer. That doesn't mean I was in charge. That just means I was playing the head of both of the horses. Despite sometimes, so the horses work in three parts. There's three puppeteers that play the horse. You have a head, a heart, and a hind. So the head puppeteer is controlling the actual head and what is it looking at. We've got control of the ears, how high, low the head is. So we've got those physical and emotional indicators. We've then got the heart puppeteer, who is sort of inside the cage of the body, I guess you could say, and they're controlling the front legs, but they're also almost in charge of how the horse breathes, so it rises and falls. So that's it, sort of, again, it's physical and emotional indicator. And then you've got the hind puppeteer in the back, who is controlling the back legs, and they've also got control of the tail, but they're very much sort of playing the driving force, like the engine of the of the horse there as well. So we've each got sort of little emotional roles and physical roles, and then we all have to work hopefully seamlessly together in order to try and convince you, the audience, that it's a real horse. But yes, nobody's in charge, is what I should say.
The wonderful Joe Potter is joining us on Drewling Samantics. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Drew. How's it going?
Very well, thank you, Joe. I've got to say, for someone that actually employs Sam Dunning, you are looking amazingly fresh, bright, youthful, fettered by this world.
When I first met him, I was a spring chicken. I used to be beautiful, and then I met Sam, and he's taken the best years from me, really.
Do you know, again, I've said this before, I don't know why I invite people on that I work with, because they just gang up on me with Drew.
I mean, Sam, you're wonderful. You're my favourite actor. But then, to be fair, you are my only actor.
Right. Okay. Right. Thanks for that. Yes. Oh, and he's on the wine. Right. We're going to blame the wine for why Joe is being insulting.
No. Right, okay, so I had a beer in the fridge. I don't usually drink beer, but I do have a beer in the fridge. And the thing was, it's a bit Voldemort. It's the name that shall not be spoken. The brand of the beer is not allowed to be said on this podcast.
Oh, I see. I'm
not going to drink it. I'm not going to tempt fate, Oh,
I like it. So you have the unwelcome guest brand of
beer.
Yes,
and I was like, I'm not going to drink that, so I'm on the red.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Carlton. I'm an actor. I currently appear in Tina, the Tina Turner musical, as Tina's boyfriend, but then future husband, Erwin Bach. And previously been in Kinky Boots in town on the ship, and a few other things. And yes, that was a terrible intro, but there you go.
It told us what you do and who you are.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
What more can you say? And also, I mean, recently been on holiday in the Lake District. I mean, the things just couldn't get better, Jonathan. I mean, it's a rounded introduction. Who you are, what you're doing. I'm gonna, because as I say, we don't know each other as well as you know my illustrious partner Sam. How did you get to where you are? I mean, obviously you are forefront rock face of our industry. I mean, we all, you know, we love the West End, we love the National, RSA, etc., and you're sort of out there, front and centre. With every night, I was talking to someone the other day, and we're talking about working in the West End, and she's just finished a couple of shows, and she was saying it suddenly struck her that there's quite an expectation upon performers in the West End, because it is our industry's, you know, shop window, if you like. It's the best of the best, and you are, you know, working with and are the best of the best. Do you sometimes feel that expectation, or do you now? I don't think any performer ever gets blasé about working, but do you recognise that pressure and that honour?
It's a good question. I think probably when I first got the call about Kinky Boots, that was when I first sort of felt, because as a kid growing up in the suburbs, I grew up in the sort of Windsor area. I say Windsor, sounds fancy, next to Staines, and you know, travel in, and we go to the West End all the time, and so. It was always sort of in your head. As soon as you sort of make that decision, you want to be an actor, you want to do musical theatre, that the West End is where you sort of want to sort of aim towards. And then going to college, I went to Mount View, which is an amazing college, and then the sort of expectations then grows, and then by the time you actually get that first job, it was the sort of the lifting of that weight of expectation. Which was actually probably the single most valuable thing as an actor, because then you stop thinking about that. When I'm on stage, I can't walk on with the weight of the expectation of a whole country about how important the West End is. It's like, it just doesn't work. No. So, you know, it's freeing, because once you actually step out on the stage, it doesn't affect me from day to day. When you step out on the stage, it always comes back to the text. It always comes back to, you know, living those scenes and saying your lines, and that's quite refreshing. Well, what's nice as well is people know they're coming to watch something in the West End, and so they have an expectation, and they also have this sort of willingness that they want to come and enjoy it, which is also a lovely thing that, you know, helps us, because they're coming with already a culture and a mindset of like, I want to sit down and enjoy this, so they're with you every step of the way.
Yeah, I'm Neil James. I am a professional jobbing actor. I do screen stuff, I do stage stuff, and I do voice stuff. And I try and do as much of it as I can, and I try and do it to the best of my ability. And I've had some really good experiences. I've been lucky. I've made some great connections. And yeah, I've got quite a bit of work behind me now, and I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
Amazing. What a succinct but beautiful description of what you do.
I love the fact that you describe it as stuff. Stage stuff, screen stuff. I love that. It's just like most people get sort of terribly pretentious about it. You go, well, I do like to do it, and you're like, yeah, I do a bit of stuff. Yeah, all right.
it's a bit of stuff. It took me a long time to tell people I was an actor, and people say, "What do you do?" I now do say I'm an actor, but for years and years, I sort of go, I do some acting. Yeah, I mean, it took me quite a while to actually commit to saying I'm an actor.
It's intriguing because before you dive into that people go, well, that's the same thing, isn't it? If you say I do some acting or I am an actor, but actually there is a wide gulf between those two phrases. Because one of which you're saying, well, it's something I sort of do. The other one is, no, this is me. This is what I am. It's the way my life is shaped and what my career is. So on first glance, that seems a bit weird. But no, I get that. I think I was probably the same. I mean, I had normal muggle people jobs as well. So I perhaps hid behind those a little bit. But what about your sort of story getting into it? How did you start out in the acting world?
I always wanted to be an actor. I think from a very early age, and I think it was probably Star Wars. I think it was the first Star Wars, and I've gone on a great journey with Star Wars because I think as a kid I wanted to be Luke Skywalker. As a teenager, I wanted to be Han Solo. As a guy in my 30s, I wanted to be Darth Vader, and now in my 40s, I kind of want to be the Emperor.
Love that. Oh, sorry, my WhatsApp's just beeping at me. Right on my big intro, my entrance. Here we go. I'm Dom. Hello, viewers. Hello, listeners. I don't know what medium this goes out in. I'm Dom. I'm an actor, which feels these days sort of varying degrees of weird to say out loud. I'm an actor. It's becoming more and more normal. I wasn't always an actor. I had a whole proper job until I was about 30. Did a proper degree, did a proper job, and then quit that and became an actor. So I spent a long time being like, I'm an actor. Now, most of the time, I just tell people I'm an actor and it's fine. But, like us all, there's varying degrees of doubt depending on who I'm speaking to and what I've had for breakfast.
Various degrees of approval, I find. It's when you talk to people and they go, oh, so what have I seen you in? And then you go, well, I do. And then they look at you and go, oh, so you're not really an actor. Yes, I am. I'm just not hugely well known or whatever. But yes, it's when you stop. I think it's when you stop saying, you go, I'm an actor, and that stops. And you go, I'm an actor. But I used to do, it's like,
I spent about 6 months saying, I'm trying to be an actor, or I'm starting out to be an actor, and then eventually that you realise everyone's trying to be an actor, and it doesn't add anything to anyone.
It doesn't add anything to anyone's lives.
Could you not say that for any vocation? Like, I don't know, an electrician is trying to be an electrician. Sometimes even they don't succeed.
Sometimes it's interesting to throw it back. Like I was out for a dog walk with a friend. This was quite recently, and we bumped into one of their friends. They said, this is Dom, who's an actor. And we got chatting a bit, spoke about some of the stuff I'd done. I think he worked in, I don't know, finance or accountancy or something. And he said something like, what was it? One of the things, like, you're a budding actor, are you? Or you're trying to be an actor. It's one of those phrases.
Oh, yes.
Family Christmas. How's the acting going? I think he said you're a budding actor, and then he immediately realised he slightly put his foot in it, like, offended or anything. But if I'd said to him, you're a budding accountant, you're a budding finance bro. How's the spreadsheets going? Good luck with that. How long are you going to keep trying to do that before you get a proper job?
So the Jungle was very special. It was a 6-month contract in the West End, and I had the pleasure of having a small role, but also covering two principal male roles and 3 other smaller roles. So I was literally Mr. Cover the shit out of everybody, and I got to do that. Bar one character of Salah, I got to go on a few times for Boxer and Derek, which was great. And this was like the first time the Playhouse had this immersive setting. And for those who don't know about it, just a snapshot. It's the story of the Calais refugees from, I think, 2013, 14, 15, something like that. So it was their kind of human story about refugees from all over, the world, in essence, and their journey, having to navigate through a refrigerated lorry, through, the choppy seas and all this kind of horror stories that you hear today. And it's their story. And you had actually 3 kind of real refugees in the show portraying their story. And that, the power of theatre is amazing, because that show in itself contributed to many, many volunteers going to Calais to help the Help for Refugees and other charities similar to that. Because it does, that show really kind of, made to kind of look yourself in the mirror going, what am I doing here? What's my opinion of refugees? And then you go, oh Jesus Christ, this is what I think. Okay, I better do something about it, or change my mindset or whatever. But it certainly is an amazing show, quite similar to the Kite Run as well, in the sense that it really navigates your own prejudices and you realize, okay, this is who I am because I'm reading X, Y, and Z in the media, and I'm buying all this shit. And actually, no, they're humans like everyone else. So it's a real human story. It's lovely.
And to add to that, the camaraderie between you. I mean, puppetry is an incredible skill anyway, because essentially what you're doing is trying to draw the audience's attention away from you as a performer, which is a very weird way of working when you are a performer.
Yes.
And having that focus on a creature or a human that obviously is not actually animated, but you are creating that life. But to have multiples of you all operating the same animal or person, the teamwork there has got to be absolutely fluid to make sure that you're all in tune with one another. Did that take a long time to develop? Is it something that sort of comes fairly quickly when you're immersed in that world?
That's a very good question. But you're absolutely right. It is some of the biggest amount of teamwork that I think ever experienced on any job, and that's both in and out of the industry, because you just have to trust those other two people completely. Like if I'm running around literally sprinting backwards on stage around the edge of the stage, I've got to trust the other two in the back to not send me off into row A. So it's so that you do really need to trust them on stage. And also when you are working like in a scene or something like that as well, obviously you can't communicate to each other because you're mic'd up, you're there doing all the horse noises and that sort of thing as well, all the breath and whatnot, but you're having to communicate just through like how each other are breathing and a slight movement in the body of the horse, or catching something out the corner of your eye that the hind puppeteer is doing with the leg. It can completely change what you are then doing at the other end of the horse, because you're thinking, oh yeah, something's happened. I don't know what that is, but I trust that my hind has seen something and is responding to. So we have to respond as a team, because the last thing you want is one person doing one thing and one person doing something else.
Let's dial back to before you were stood on those prestigious West End stages, when you were a mere small Jonathan going, do you know what, I would actually like to do that. How did all that kick off? Tell us about your sort of pathway into the biz.
Small Jonathan. That I think as a kid growing up, I wasn't. I feel like this is a story for many actors, but bullied and wasn't sort of socially. I was slightly socially awkward. I was sort of off the beat, or what's the one? There's always these words that I always get described in auditions, even now. But but even more so then. And as a kid, I think that's quite difficult because it's all about fitting in. And when I was about 7, I think I went to watch my brother do Alice in Wonderland, where he played the Griffin. And my mum just sort of turned to me and was like, "Do you want to give it a go?" And like at this point, I think I'd done badminton, which I wasn't bad at, tennis, karate. I was just like, they were throwing me into everything, and I was like, "Sure." And honestly, it was the first time when I joined the class. I was 8. And it was the first time that we were devising little kind of adverts or devising a scene that this happens and then this happens. And it was the first time that I started doing stuff, and I felt people sort of magnetized towards me. Like I felt at home, really, and felt very much sort of like I had something different to offer, which in every other single thing I did, it felt like I was catching up, or it felt like I wasn't at the top of it, and then not that that's important, but it just instantly, I felt like I had friends. I instantly felt like I had a community, and I just attached myself to that straight away.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, what am I? A director? A writer? an actor, a lover, a friend. I'm not sure. Well, okay. Oh God, you're going to be so bored of me by the end. So I started off. I'd always wanted to be an actor. It was my ardent dream. Apart from when I was very small and I wanted to be a jockey. And then I discovered I was going to be too tall to be a jockey, and my mother told me that it wasn't a sensible dream. And anyway, so she was the one who got me into acting, actually. She would take me to the Operatic Society, and I was in all of their musicals. So I was in Carousel and The Hot Mikado and, all of these things. And it opened up this whole world of theatre to me, which I just loved. And I think probably that was the happiest I'd ever been acting, when I was young and there was no kind of pressure involved in the situation, and there wasn't the monetary pressure. But I went down the route as best I could. And I went through the usual channels, and I did youth theatre, and then I tried out for drama school, and I got into a couple of drama schools, and I ended up going to, where did I go? Arts Ed, in West London, which was great. And it was exactly like Fame. You'd go in and there was, a girl doing box splits on the desk, and, someone was being dragged out of a classroom with a gun to their head, and people tap dancing in the corridors and whatever.
Well, it was West London, mate. So
it was West.
Do you know anyone that lives in West London, Drew?
Well, do you know what? I think I need to top up my glass.
Yeah, how very convenient, but you're right. We do need fresh drinks. Back in a sec. Successfully filled up.
Oh, yes, Sam. So, back to our guests. And not all of them set out to be actors.
No, you are quite right, Drew. In fact, our next clip is the perfect example.
What on earth, Dom, made you think, that's what I want to do? I've got this solid job. I've done this training. I'm very intelligent and qualified man. I want to kick all that in for people to look at me and go, you're an actor.
Yeah.
Why?
I probably ego, childhood trauma. I don't know. Like probably what desire to be the centre of attention. Like why do any of us do it? Like
that rings true.
Yeah. I wasn't a theatre kid. I grew up in Stratford-on-Avon. The school I went to had some sort of theatre. Like there was a theatre at the school. It was just. I think when you're at school in Stratford, people you do a lot of Shakespeare and stuff. It's just part of the background noise. But I wasn't into theatre at all. I was quite shy as a kid. I think I did drama up until I could drop it in year 9. I thought I'll do the lights. I'll just hide away from the stage. Went and did a proper degree, did sort of economics and psychology, got a job, moved to London. And there's something in that, after moving to London, got involved in some stuff and eventually decided, let's do some Amdram. Let's do a play. Out of some sort of adolescence, I just want to try something very different from me. I also took up running at the time and would travel around and just try and push my comfort zone a bit. I think that's why I started doing it. So for while I was doing this other job, 5 or 6 years, I'd do a bit of Amdram and enjoyed it. I thought, okay, I've got a bit of a knack for this, and this is great fun, performing on a stage and being applauded. But I never seriously considered it as a job because it's a really stupid idea to do it as a job. I think I kind of thought, if I ever won the lottery, maybe I'd go to drama school and be an actor. That's a lovely dream. But the reality of actually trying to do it would be so miserable. I just hate it. And then, when was it? 2022 or something. Still in the old job. Was lucky to have that all during that period where we were all working from home. Nice to have some stable income. Yeah, Came out of that. And I guess you kind of got this is this it kind of feeling. Maybe we're all reevaluating our lives a bit then, but just kind of, oh God, this is I've got a good job, lovely people, the work's quite nice, the office is air conditioned, the money's all right. I've moved into a flat on my own, and it's okay, his life is just God, it's just there's this sort of general haze of feeling like feeling, I don't know, feeling a bit unfulfilled. And I thought, I couldn't put my finger on it at the time. I thought, well, I don't know what I want to do, but it's not this. Like, I don't have kids, I don't have a mortgage. Let's just. In fact, it wasn't even that. I just thought, I think I quit that job. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Applied for some other jobs, some other similar things. Maybe I'll work in a bit more in the charity sector, a bit more in the public sector. I'll do something that's just a bit different from what I'm currently doing. Got some jobs through and thought, I don't want to do these jobs either. And then I think it was after that, I went traveling for a bit around the Balkans. People say that's what you should do, and you didn't want to do. That didn't help at all. I was just sat on buses for 2 weeks in Southeastern Europe. Came back to where I started. And I think, I probably just sat unemployed for about 3 or 4 weeks and thought, actually, you know what, this acting thing, if not now, when? Let's give it a go. And since then, all went surprisingly well.
In the early days of the career, I did a TIA. I don't know what that is. It's because I've had a beer. A
TIA is a mini stroke, so I really hope you didn't have a TIA.
Well, I mean, possibly. It's a long time ago. But a TIE...
There we go.
That'll teach me for downing that pint so quickly. A TIE tour. Yeah, did it around schools, and it was a three-hander, and it was like a kind of anti-bullying play. And we went to this particular school. We did it to a group of their drama students. I think they were their GCSE drama students. And it was a three-hander. There was one girl who was constantly on stage, never left stage. And then me and another actress, a lovely actress called Cara Fraser, we played everyone she met on her journey. So we were multi-rolling. So we'd come on, do our thing, and then we'd go off, get changed, come on with the new costume and the new props. And our props table and our costume were behind like a big black kind of partition. So just so no one can see us getting changed, basically, the illusion of theatre. And after the very first scene, it collapsed. And so we're 4 minutes into the play and it collapsed, and there's another hour of the play to go.
Oh, God.
And we just carried on. So we then did the whole rest of the play, but we were getting changed. Going out of one character into another, grabbing the necessary props. You know what it's like backstage, quick changes. Everything's like absolutely manic.
Yeah.
And we're doing this and kind of like, we're sort of, at times sort of down to our underwear, me and this actress, Cara. And obviously we're looking at each other like, oh my God, this is the worst nightmare ever. We're like, half naked in front of, this drama group. But we carried on. We were professional. We carried on and we did the play. And we got a huge round of applause, bigger than we'd normally be used to getting on this tour. And afterwards, the director and the cast, we kind of gathered and went up to the drama tutor and said, God, we're so sorry about that. And she said, stop right there. She said, they've learned more from that than they would have watching 10 different companies come and do the play.
Yeah.
They said that's such an insight into what theatre's like.
Yeah.
The fact that they watched you doing those mad changes, and you know what it's like when two people are in close space, you're ducking out of the way of each other, and you're helping do zips up and things like that. They were like, my students have learnt more from that than anything else. So thank you. And she actually advised us moving forward in the tour to do all the changes in front of people, which we didn't. But it was just interesting because we were mortified, absolutely mortified that we'd come and done a terrible job, and we looked really unprofessional. And she was like, they'll remember that. They will remember that as actors going out into the world. They'll remember it.
I mentioned the jungle to you earlier on, and I was covering the role of Derek, and it was my first time on, and I had this wonderful kind of thing to say, hustle and bustle of the cast, and suddenly I heard behind me, "Stop the show!" And it was the stage manager behind me, and of course actors in security going, shit, was I that bad?
What have I done wrong? Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm ruined. It's all in a kind of millisecond. And no, of course, it wasn't me. Somebody had actually twisted their ankle backstage, and it had to wait to get another cover. But it was that moment of, am I really that bad?
Wow. Even at the point where you're performing in these enormous shows, hugely popular, and going all over the country, or doing these beautiful theatres, the immediate response to stop the show is, "Oh my God, I'm shit," and that must be me. It's just, if that's not an eye opener for people out there that aren't in the industry, that wants to know like how we feel and how we behave, and you could be the massive name on the poster, and the next minute you can be like, "Oh, but yeah, did I do that wrong?"
The worst thing about acting is you've got no control. And I desperately wanted to have some control in the art I was making. So like I said, I went off and started writing and painting and sort of failing at that a bit. But I was happier because I had some agency over what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then years before, someone had asked me to write a play, commissioned me to write a play about the Great Fire of London. And it was sort of successful in Edinburgh. And I think they wanted me to make a play for about £20,000, and I made one for about £17.50.
A producer's dream.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Because I wanted it to be for everybody, and I wanted, and that was quite a nice thing about Edinburgh, that it's sort of it's a bit ragtag, and you've got those nice constraints to it. But yeah, so I started this show, and then years later, after I was sort of given up on everything, I thought, well, maybe I'll give it a go. I'll rewrite the show, and I'll start again with this, because my whole family is in children's things, publishing, school. I mean, my sister works at Brighton College at the moment, and she works in the theatre department there. And I don't know. I thought, well, I'll give this a go and see what happens. And for some reason, it just took off, and it was really successable.
But you did it on board ship. Now, I mean, this is a ridiculous thing. High heels on. Were there ever rough seas? Did you ever?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be hard. I mean, call me a simplistic man, but I've got to know.
Right. So.
Right. I love it. I love a sentence that starts with that. Right.
Let's talk about the waves first. Yeah. The heels, there was only a couple of times I think the waves got too bad for the heels. The heels weren't necessarily why we'd ever have to get into it, and it was very rare that we'd have to cancel a show or rearrange a show. That was mostly to do with the travelators, was the sort of running machines.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Those things are about half a ton each, and in town you've got machines that's basically like pull them and push them off stage. On the ship, we had people. And so if you're thinking, if the ship's doing this and you're pushing four of them collected together, so that's the only ever reason we really ever, and plus as well, we had this big wonderful truck that split in half, and it's basically the whole set. That moving that around in the sea, there was definitely a couple of times where I was doing a scene and I'm on the phone, and I'm meant to be here, and the light is here, and I'm having to go, yes. So those were the waves. It was. Oh, the hardest thing for me personally, and again, I can't talk for the Angels or Lola, or the drag queens in the show, because that they have the hardest job because they're in heels the whole show. I mostly wore flats, but I did have to run upstairs about 4 or 5 times, like collect up and down in that show, which, and I'd say stairs is a generous word, more like a ladder. And the one they created when we first got on the ship was, I think, slightly wrong. It was all slightly too small. I had to run down it side-footed.
Oh.
So you're doing that, and you're moving around, and you have to get there for certain cues and certain parts. And then one of the songs, it starts, and I have to walk up the stairs as I'm singing. So there's walking upstairs and singing, which is hard. And then I'm literally about to do this big kind of belty number, and first thing I do is run down the stairs, which instantly wins you, and it's like, right, here we go. And then at the very end, you run up the stairs, and then you do the last note as you run up the stairs, which is yeah, lovely. What makes it worse on a ship is that, so you have the side to side. What's sometimes worse is the up and down. So when a ship's going down and you're trying to go up, basically as the ship goes down, it basically forces you down, and as it goes up, it forces you up. So sometimes if you're going up the stairs and the ship's coming down, you basically crumble under the own weight of like your body, and you can't get up the stairs, but you need to make the queue, so you need to force yourself. And occasionally I take 2 steps up to the top of the it's 10 foot high. I take 2 steps and I'm up there because it's like launched me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or that one's scary when you're coming down and you're being launched up and you're like,
weightless.
I had to really hold on. So that was the waves. I miss waves though, mostly when I'm sleeping, because I've never slept better than when I was on the ship.
I did a tiny little bit of cruising a few years back. My wife and I and a friend were taken on board ship, and all we had to do was it was great. We were there for 2 weeks, and we just did 4 nights, 4 shows, 4 one-act plays whilst we were sailing. And we had one incident, and it was during a show. I had to deliver a tray of champagne cocktails, and I've done a little bit of waiting. That was, so that wasn't a problem. It was that moment when I'm going down and the ship's coming up. It's a whoa, and the first time it happened, it was like, okay, now tomorrow night we get plastic glasses. But there was this moment of everything just left the tray, and it did not. All that the audience are all seasoned travelers, seasoned cruisers. They just sat there and went, "Yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah, we could see that happening." All nodding, all in sympathy, but going, "Well, that's why. Why didn't he just hand the glasses out? Why use a tray?"
We had a tray of glasses for kinky boots. You know what they do? Is they Velcro them on.
So I have a code. When a job comes up, there's 5 things I look at, and I try and I want to tick 3 or more of these 5.
Okay.
So there's an imaginary job. Let's say it's playing a lighthouse keeper in a short film. Okay. So my first question is, how much money am I getting?
100%.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
My second is, where is it?
Yeah.
That plays a part in stuff for me. My third is, will I learn anything from this job?
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Fourth is, will it advance my career or be good? Be a good thing for my career. And fifth is, will it be fun? Okay, so I try and look at these things. So a job comes up, and I instantly go to the list. And a lot of the time, it's how much money, not very much. So that doesn't get it.
Yeah.
But will I learn a lot? Is it fun? Will it be fun? Most jobs I do are fun, and I don't mean that we're all having a laugh. Obviously we're pros and we take it seriously, but you don't want to go away anywhere for be it a day or a month and have a miserable time. So I kind of look at it. So I try and stick with these 5 things. How much money is it? Is it fun? Will I learn from it? Will it advance my career? Where is it? But then sometimes this goes out the window because then something will come up and I'll go, right, okay, well, it's I don't know. Let's say it's a corporate thing that I really don't want to do, but my car's just failed its MOT.
Yeah.
And things like that. So, and often sometimes if things are local, there's certain things that I wouldn't, like I say, I'm on the South Coast. I wouldn't travel to Leeds, Leeds or Edinburgh to do a job. But if they go, well, it's 20 minutes down the road, I'd do that.
You can make it sound easy, the story of quitting a stable job to become, an actor in an insecure profession. A lot of the people who do this have some degree of financial privilege that they don't talk about. And for me, it was in January of 2023. So just shortly after I'd left the job, I won £10,000 in a cream egg, which, how did it happen? Like it was in Tesco Express outside Waterloo Station. If anyone deserved this, it was me, because I eat a lot of cream eggs, or at least I did at the time. I'd get through at least 3 or 4 cream eggs a week, just while I'm out and about doing my acting work.
Beautiful.
I bought a cream egg, opened it, and I had this little coupon as, congratulations, you've won £10,000. And I thought it was like, oh, it's one of those promotion, the enter for a chance to win sort of thing. But I read it again, I think it does say I've won. And then I read the back of it and read the small print. I think I've just won £10,000. And 2 friends I was with like, what was that? I'm just going to go home now, because I think I'm now carrying £10,000 in cash. Went home, Googled it. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've won. I had to ring a hotline in the morning. Didn't sleep that night. Get through to this call center. It's like, oh, okay, can I have your code? It's like, oh yeah, congratulations, you've won. Lovely chap on the phone, but he made nothing of it. This is just his job. They did a whole background check on me, presumably to make sure I don't work for the company that decides where the winning egg goes or something.
Extraordinary.
And then it lands in my bank account. And the promotion was like, they've got this thing, how do you eat yours? And this was like, how do you not eat yours? Like, if you don't eat it, you win I didn't quite understand what it was. It was like, you had to not eat the egg to claim the money.
Wasn't it like half white chocolate or something? There was something different about it.
Half milk. You can tell, if you look at a box of cream eggs, this is the most valuable thing I can tell your listeners. They're still doing the promotion. You can tell without opening them what they look like, because they've got this paper coupon inside. So what you're looking for in a box of cream eggs is like, because they're wrapped in foil, you can see, if you look closely, that they've got a paper coupon inside. I've rummaged through every box of cream eggs I've ever seen since then, and I've never seen one.
The first show that I did on Warhorse, you're standing behind this big black shutter. You can hear all of the previous scene happening with Baby Joey, the sort of the small horse, and you hear all of the audience in there. It's a buzz in there. I mean, yeah, you know how it is on stage when you can feel the energy of the audience. But that first time standing behind there, you have a little high five with your heart and hind. And the shutter goes out behind you, and you rush through, and you have this transformation moment that is so iconic for the show of Warhorse, where the big horse comes through the Baby Joey, and then you land, you sort of trot forward, you have this big like Weller L'Oreal moment of just like a whole body like quiver as the whole as he settles himself. And then Albert, from the other side of the stage, runs, jumps onto you, and then you leave. And I think, even just saying that now, it gives me sort of shivers going round. But I think that itself is possibly one of the best moments that I've ever had on stage, and is one of the amazing things about puppetry, having an entire audience just like end of a scene, just like spontaneously going into applause, and one of the most magical moments that I think there are on stage. And that is the thing. I mean, if there are people listening that are wanting to go into puppetry stuff, or have an interest in it, just do it, because it's some of the most fun you'll ever have.
We often try to explain how we feel doing this wonderful job of ours, but Tom nailed it perfectly. Fantastic sentiment to finish the episode with.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we got to chat about or hear from our fabulous guests was top notch. So another massive thank you to each and every one of them. To Jonathan, Tiran, Neil, Tom, Joe and Dom, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And speaking of finishing, Drew, we have almost finished season 12. But we are going to be back next week with one final episode.
Yes, so please do join us then for our final episode, the best bits of us.
Yeah. We'll see you then. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed this special highlights episode of Drewling Samantics.
If you have, then make sure you go and watch all our previous episodes in full for even more fun and interesting content. Please consider subscribing to our channel too, and you'll get notified every time a new video is released.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And we'd love your support on social media as well. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so please share with your family and friends, and we'll be eternally grateful. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.